Welcome to the Big Four Accounting Firms podcast, brought to you by big4accountingfirms.com. Today's podcast, I wanted to discuss something that I've been thinking about. It's not news related, just some observations. Well, first I wanted to discuss a management theory that I think can be applied to accounting, and I think people can relate to, or if they don't have enough experience in the Big Four accounting firms, then you can be on the lookout for it as you progress in your career. And some of you may have already heard of it, but it's this concept called the Peter Principle. And I'm going to read off of Wikipedia. And it says the Peter Principle is a concept in management developed by Lawrence J. Peter, which observes that people in a hierarchy tend to rise to a level of respective incompetence. So basically, you rise to the highest level until you become incompetent. And it says the employees are promoted based on their success in previous jobs until they reach a level at which they are no longer competent. And I think this principle was developed, I guess, from job switching, but I think it applies to the Big Four accounting firms because the Big Four accounting firms are hierarchical. And it could also apply to people that transition to industry. And the reason I was thinking about it was I've been seeing a lot of staff people recently that have been leaving firms early on in their careers in a group that I've been working in, and I've been wondering, just from my own experience, like why would you leave so early in your career? Especially the ones that are good and have a bright future, especially in the Big Four accounting firms. I'm not saying the Big Four accounting firms is an easy job or a great job, but all you really have to do is sit there for, a number of years and you'll get promoted to manager fairly easily because there's not really high expectations of you as an associate or a senior associate. Really, all you have to do is show up and do your work and charge some hours. There's no real expectations. Some groups are more difficult than others, and some people might argue with me, but for the vast majority of people, getting promoted to associate and senior associate is easy. And getting promoted to manager is easy. The Big Four, their whole revenue model is built on you moving up so that they can charge more for your hours. And then once you get up there, they force you to work more and are harder on you. And that's where people typically leave, is in those higher levels. And the people that don't make it to senior associate or manager, typically people not making it to manager could be for various reasons. They just get tired of working long hours over multiple years, because to make it to manager, you have to work at least 4 years. So that's another self-selecting process. But to not make it to senior, you have to not show up. You have to not do your work. You have to be extremely antisocial or have a lot of antisocial tendencies or rub executives the wrong way. And so I guess I was thinking of the Peter Principle into very, very, very few people are incompetent enough to not make it to senior. And so when I see staff people move to industry within those first few years, you're just limiting yourself, because industry, that they have lower expectations, but they also have lower salaries and less promotions. So you're just really limiting yourself unless you get a really, really huge raise, like 50% or more. And I would say stick around at the Big Four until you get manager or above. But you can also select yourself out of this. Like if you just quit in the first year, then, you've reached your level of incompetence. You weren't competent enough to realize how easy it actually was. And another reason that I think people leave as a staff person or a senior is because of the people they work with. And this is what I think I've been observing, is that there's a personality type in my group that this person has a lot of antisocial behaviors. and nobody really calls them out on it. Nobody has a coaching moment with them, or not enough coaching moments, or no, the firm isn't coaching that person out, which I think should be done. And then that way you can retain a lot more people and retain truly talented people, because you have good staff and seniors that could be rising up, but they're leaving because of one person, that's been there, the one person that will never leave because the person's so rooted in who they are, and that person's not leaving, but they're making other miserable people, they're making other people miserable and forcing them to leave. And so that's one principle that I think is relevant to people, and I think people should think about that in their own careers, because if you're not moving up, if you're stuck at a salary level, then you could be at a level of incompetence, and then maybe you got to take yourself outside of your comfort zone, because in the big four accounting firms, there's a lot of areas to get trapped in, because they want you to get stuck in an administrative position and shuffling papers around. A lot of partners want you to do that. And a lot of partners, that's why they have you in their group, because so that you can do that and they don't have to. Theoretically, they should be out winning work, whining, dining clients. They don't really do that anymore. They just chill back a lot of the times, in my opinion, unless they're superstar partners. They're using the people below them to chill and relax and do less. And so there's a lot of people that can get stuck in a level of incompetence, not necessarily out of their own selection, but just because of under the weight of all the administrative work in the big four accounting firms. And in that respect, you need to look at your own career in that respect and figure out a way to transition out of that so that you don't get stuck in that position. But also don't take yourself out of the game early in the big four. You got to stick through those few years, in my opinion, and don't go to industry, because the grass is not greener in industry for the most part. Now, you might have shorter hours, things like that, but the problem with shorter hours and an easier life in industry is there's a lot of personality. It's still accounting, so you're going to run into tough personalities in industry, and then you don't want to get yourself pigeonholed and then turn back to the big four accounting firms and then have to start rising up the ladder again in a different group where you don't have the relationships, where you don't have the network. So as you think about your career, think about the Peter Principle, think about your level of incompetence in the areas where you can improve. And you'll notice it throughout your career. You'll notice the areas where you're weak, and you need to work on those areas if you want to keep moving. Otherwise, you're just going to get stuck in a rut. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Hopefully it's motivation for people to stay at the big four accounting firms. And the biggest thing there is salary. You should at least be moving up salary wise, moving up quickly. And then once you get stuck, or once your group gets you stuck in a place, that's when you make your moves. That's when you go to industry. That's when you go to another group. You get an executive coach, whatever is necessary. But everybody reaches this in their career at some point, even partners, because like there's senior partner levels, right? But a lot of partners, once they reach partners, they plateau and they relax. So it's not uncommon, but it's something to think about. Just wanted to give some people knowledge about that and some career advice. So that's the podcast for today. Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out the show notes for useful links. Thanks for listening.